I often get asked, what do we need the dip switches inside of LongLine for? What are the different reasons for it? How can I make it benefit my pedal board? I'm going to go through that today with audio examples of each and show you the different options you have available. I also want to say at the outset, everything I'm about to say today applies to interfacer TX, underfacer TX, and output TX, as well as any of our custom junctions, wet, dry, wet, and some of the similar ones if you've had one built for yourself. Anything with a white push button on it for summing, this applies to. So the first and the default option that all of our products ship with is called stereo summing. And this basically takes the left input and the right input, merges them together, sums them together, which I'm going to go into why that's important in a second, and then splits that sum signal to both left and right outputs. We do something a little bit different with our summing circuit. Typically, a summing circuit will add the volumes together, increasing your overall output. We don't do that. In our summing circuit, we automatically deal with the gain increase and make sure you have a level sound no matter what. So that is taken care of and is not an issue. So that's our summing circuit. You sum those two signals for stereo sum together, and then you merge those to a left and a right out. This is great for stereo delay, stereo reverb, if you want to go back and forth between stereo and mono, or really why it was first introduced in our products was in case a tube amp died mid-gig, you hit the stereo sum button, and since it's sending to both outputs, no matter what amp died, you're still getting signal to both of those amps regardless of which one is working and which one isn't. Since then, people have started using this just to be able to play mono at 1 gig and stereo at another, which is okay. Not what it was intended for, but it can work, and our customers seem pretty happy with that until it comes to modulation effects. If you sum some modulation effects, a stereo panning tremolo, or maybe a stereo chorus, those will either disappear or be reduced, like in the case of a stereo chorus. So what we've done there is we've added split sum. Before we get to split sum though, let's listen to stereo sum, and then I'll show you the difference and we can move on from there. This is stereo summing, going from a stereo signal, hit the push button, and then we go to a stereo summed signal. Check it out. So you heard the stereo signal there moving back and forth from left to right, and then we hit the sum push button. It's merged, and now both outputs, or ears if you're wearing headphones, are getting the same signal. And that is our stereo sum, which is great for reverb and delay, not so much for modulation. Split sum, if you open up the inside of LongLine and you go from stereo sum and you push both dips down to split sum, now you will basically have your normal stereo signal when the push button is out. Left in connects to left out, right in connects to right out. That is always the case. But now we're in split sum, we hit that push button. The right input is muted. The left input sends to both left and right outputs at the same time. So this is great for a few reasons, but for modulation effects, this works quite well. And we will also be using this if you ever want to mix amps. So set your Goodwood product with summing to split sum if you want to run a mono pedal board, but you want to mix amps. Maybe you have a Fender and a Vox, and dual mono is your favorite way to run your rig. This is a great way to do it because you're taking one mono signal and you're able to send it to two places. Let's listen to split sum. First, I'm going to show you a stereo signal from a stereo delay with some modulation in it, and then we are going to split sum that signal, muting the right input, and we're just going to take the left input and send it to both outputs. Check this out, then I'm going to show you a mono in for mixing amps. And now check out a mono input to 2 outputs, still in split sum, but now we're kind of doing the dual mono out that I was just referencing before. Now into one of my favorite options here is mixing. This does not account for the gain increase if you were to mix 2 of the same signals, an output of a stereo delay as an example. But if you were to mix 2 independent signals, in this case it's going to be a 100% wet reverb and a dry signal, we don't need to worry about this gain increase anymore because the signals are now independent. So we can mix these down and we can treat this as a line mixer. Again, if it's in stereo, the push button is out as shown on screen here. If the push button is out, it's still stereo, left in to left out, sorry, right in to right out. As soon as you hit that push button, now it turns into a line mixer. So let's check out the mixing of a signal. First, you're going to hear in stereo, dry on one side, reverb on the other. Then we mix it. This merges the signals together and sends this mixed signal to both outputs using LongLine as a line mixer. Check it out. As a line mixer, what I really love about this is you could take 2 completely independent signals, a bass guitar and an electric guitar. You could mix them down and send them out as a 1 instrument output or dual mono outputs if you like. You can get really creative with how you use these products with line mixers, split sum, and stereo sum as our default option. That's how we ship all of these products. Hopefully this was helpful and made some sense on how you can use these products in some creative ways. Let me know how you're using your Goodwood products. I'd love to hear some unique and interesting rigs and how this all comes together. Post your questions below. We'll see you guys next week.